not only does bystander affect common, like in regular circumstances, but throughout history.
This is great, honestly. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this. I'm speaking with Maya Gray, writer director, and Michael Jasper, producer of Animals, which is premiering at the Raindance Film Festival this month. Thank you both so much for the time. I really appreciate this.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Well, this is a joy to talk about this film. I mean, I am always so excited about a short film that has so much to say in 20 minutes of time. Like this is a wild ride and just an incredible film. Where
Thank
did
you.
it come from?
It's hard to say because the film came in bits and pieces. So, like half, was it like there the film, like the most shocking parts of the film came later, like the very final scene where she tries to connect the dog and Zoya, that came a couple days before filming. Originally it started because it was supposed to be family instead of just Zoya, and this woman comes and takes over their house, and it was a lot more brutal. And then but I have to think director minded as well as writer minded, and I said, where am I going to get this family? So I had to start writing around just having it be two characters and just keeping it within the house just to make production like easier. And that's how the film kind of evolved into what it is today. So it was, I think, the original, very original idea. The father died, and then the mother died, and then he took over the house. Obviously, that's very different than the cut of the film. I mean, not the cut of the film we got in general, because the final script was way different than the first script
Mhm.
that I wrote, or even the first script that I sent to Michael, because I don't think he even knew that
Mhm.
there was a family. Like it was, this is a very early draft that I wrote and tell my friend about it. And then a couple weeks later, I said, "Nah, I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna have to rewrite it." So that's how it happened.
Well, I mean, it works so well with just with the two women. Just it simplifies the battle for power and somehow makes it more complicated at the same time.
Yes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Michael, what impressed you most about this story? You get this script for this film about occupation at an Airbnb, which is or not an Airbnb. Let's put it that way. Um, what was going through your mind? How did you know that Maya had something special here?
Well, Maya and I knew each other several years before we collaborated on this, and she's a
Mm.
phenomenal writer, and director as well. And so, um, when she, when I first read this script, I was like, man, like just the symbolism of this sort of colonialism and things, but just the systematic brutalistic nature that this woman takes over this house and absorbs sort of this personality, and then the final scene. And all of that was written like when I read it. So it was very easy to say, let's do it. I think the hardest part, was probably logistics and figuring it out. And but it was the writing right from the start was incredible, and it was a pretty easy decision to say, "Hey, we got to do this."
Well, I mean, like I said, it's such a fascinating piece, and it's not just a thriller. The psychology behind it
Mhm.
is in full display. Can you talk about that? Can you both talk about that? Because this film actually lays out the psychological progression of occupation in this. It actually shows you the steps, if you will, of what's happening in this moment.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm by no means a historian. I've never studied genocide. I can only go off of what was given to me in history textbooks, and just, I don't know, I feel like I was guided by feeling, and I had to write the details after. So I knew what feeling I was trying to convey with what's going on with this particular situation and also occupation. I just didn't know the steps that went into it. So I researched the steps of what it took. And Somehow, some way, I did not have to change much about how I started the original script to after we found out like we're going to incorporate elements of occupation because like the story naturally followed that progression. Like as I'm writing this character that's looking to take over, the natural steps of her arc kind of naturally flowed with occupation in general, if that makes sense. So just like understanding her as like a human being that's looking for power was very easy to translate that over into like the logistical steps of like how things were taken over in the past, like how other occupations have, became what they have became. So
Hmm.
that's the only way I can kind of explain it. But yeah.
Yeah, and there is some nuances to I think the way the story was written as well, like um the police officer basically ignoring Zoya and believing Amelia, trying to befriend Zoya and asking questions that are, really off-putting as someone that you just met and trying to befriend her and act as if you're her friend. All of those things go into what Maya said, those steps that lead into colonialization and genocide, and it is a manipulation that happens mentally, that you get power over someone, and clearly Amelia did that in this case, right from the outset. It's sort of progresses from there, obviously, but right from the outset, you could see it.
Well, I think that's what I think makes the film work so well. This isn't strangers, to give it a horror comparison. This isn't
Mhm.
somebody storming into the house, tying people up, and saying, "This is our home now." For those that don't know, Animals is the story of this woman who appears at another woman's home and says that there's a mistake at an Airbnb, and then gradually moves in and takes the home. And I love the fact that there are these little steps, and each one of them feels insignificant until they've gone too far, in that way. And there's this wonderful conversation of manipulation of power and grace. It's this weird mix, when she says like, "Well, you've made a human mistake," and she's slowly edging her way further in here. And I would love is to hear. Can you talk a little bit about more that aspect of it, because this isn't domination in the sense of we've showed up and this is ours now. It's
Mhm.
just piece by piece taking a little bit more.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting that you mentioned the grace aspect of it because I feel like Rachel really did do a good job of portraying Amelia as graceful because when you think of like historically like domination, especially Rachel is playing a white woman, and
Mhm.
those things do factor into how white supremacy or colonialization is able to kind of flourish. Because I don't know if you've heard of the film Soft and Quiet, but there's this
Mhm.
whole thing about how they're able to lead. It's actually a very intense film, but they are basically like white supremacists and they're able to lead white supremacy through femininity because people don't suspect that they could be perpetrators of violence because they're women and they're white women, which are women that are classified as ultra feminine, ultra safe to be around, ultra dainty, ultra weak. And I feel like Rachel or Amelia used her perceived weakness to infiltrate this home. She used her femininity to infiltrate Zoya's face. She came in and gave the impression that she was going to be a soft emotional figure that Zoya can lay on in a vulnerable time, and she completely subverted that to enact her real true vision, which was to conquer Zoya and then conquer the house.
Yeah, absolutely. It's masterful in the way she did it. And just, I was telling someone else before too. I mean, it's she really came across first as almost like, hey, the victim, like, can I be in your house? And oh, I have nowhere to go, and I'm sorry, this mistake. And the oppressor playing the victim is something we've also seen in history, right? And so yeah, I think that was just incredible, and kudos to Maya again about the writing of that, to really bring that to life. It was really there.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible to
Hmm.
see
It is.
this slow progression. And again, it's one of these things where it's giving a little bit of ground in the interest of peace, if you will. And then all of a sudden, you're looking back and you're like, how did we get here? How did
Mhm.
this happen?
Right.
Um,
Yes.
I would love to know about the bystander effect,
Ah,
if you can, because that is a fascinating addition to this film where they may be the Zoya and I'm sorry, the other character's name,
Amelia.
Amelia. Zoya and Amelia are the focus, but there are these other characters floating around. And the what is the bystander effect, and how do you feel it applies here?
Be honest, that was my favorite part of the script, and that's my favorite part of the movie is the addition of Amelia's dinner guests.
Yeah.
It's obviously over the top, and it comes off slightly almost comedic how they just come in and how they ignore exactly what happened to Zoya in this house, even though Zoya has never technically left the house. Like she's there until the very end. And I wanted to convey the fact that it's it seems to be like not only is bystander effect common like in regular circumstances, but throughout history, like you see all these atrocities being committed, like the Holocaust. And then you'll hear how people talk about it, and they're like, well, that was my neighbor, but it's like, what do you want me to do? You want me to die with them? And then you'll see other people who were more involved in the Holocaust, and it's more of like a it's like it's not they don't describe it as a horrific atrocity. They just describe it as like, oh, okay, like this is another Tuesday. Like this is just something we had to do. We're just taking orders. We were following orders.
Hmm.
And based off of their relationship to Amelia, I wanted to like really examine how people would treat a victim of a crime if their friend was the one that perpetrated it, especially a crime as heinous as what happened to Zoya, or the ways in which we claim to be against certain tragedies, which when they are saying that they're going to acknowledge Zoya, the first thing that came into my mind is the way that we do land acknowledgments for Native Americans. Like, yeah, we took their land, we killed them, but here's this land acknowledgement that most like neoliberals will give, and they'll be like, oh well, we're just acknowledging the land that we took. It's fine, moving on. And when I hear that, when I heard it a lot in 2020, when these institutions would give land acknowledgments to a really horrific crime, but it's like, why don't we actually speak about what happened and what caused these people to lose their home? Not just, oh yeah, moving on. Now we're going to enjoy the fruits of your land, and you can get this little small acknowledgement. Like, oh, and to me, an extent, like granted, the people that give land acknowledgements weren't there when it happened, but it still feels like a form of bystander effect to me, but just happening later after it happened, if that makes sense.
And I think it also speaks to the unwillingness for people to have difficult conversations or even to tell people that they like or maybe even love that they did wrong. You see that in family dynamics, you see that in politics, you see that in international relations, you see that in things even, slave trade and all that and through history. And that when and not giving too much away, but when the suggestion that the dog be named after Zoya, I can tell I can tell you the response that some of the screenings I've been to is just like you just hear gasp. They're like, "Are you serious?" And yeah, it hit home. It hits home in a very shocking and unexpected twist at the end. So yeah, it's just again, it symbolizes a lot of things, and it just talks about I think sometimes the brutality of the human condition, that we can overlook some really terrible things just to not make ourselves uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that dinner party. scene, I think, brings all of that to a head. This idea that, well, we know what happened, but I can see where you're coming from. I can see where they're coming from
Mhm.
as well. Um, Honestly, it's just an incredible piece. It's so powerful and so honest in so many ways. In a brief thriller,
Yeah.
there's so much there.
Hmm.
I know I see we're running out of time, but how can people make sure that they get a chance to see Animals? When is it premiering?
Well, if you're in the UK, it's premiering in 2 days at Raindance.
Yes, be a rain dance, and Thursday and Friday it's nominated for Best Short. And then hopefully it'll get some more screening and more ways to view it as well. So, yeah, we're excited. Very
Um,
excited, actually.
Rightfully so. Honestly, this is such a wonderful film. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
It, yeah,
Thank you so much. And please give your kudos to Maya. She can't make
absolutely.
it, but she's a phenomenal writer and director. And I've seen it, so this is going to get everyone else a taste of what she can do. So hopefully we get more people to see it. So
Absolutely. Maya Gray and Michael Jasper, the team behind Animals. Honestly, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
thank you
You're
so
welcome.
Thank
much.
you.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.